everybody. Welcome in. It's the Michigan football postgame show. Michigan wins this one 31-6. 4 turnovers. Despite 4 turnovers, they force 3 themselves, and they prevail in this one 31-6. Joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli. Scar, this game not what a lot of people thought how this one was going to go. In the end, Michigan gets the W. Let's talk about this one and what stood out to you. What's up, man?
Well, hey, man, Danny, we're 3-0. We got the lamb chops done. You never know what can happen in these games. I just see Texas is struggling with Wyoming now. But anyway, we're 3-0. The party's over. Rutgers is a damn good football team. They come in next week, and they are better than they were last year. And we will be ready to go. There's a lot of ways you can play this as a coach now, a head coach mentally. It's like, okay, if we were to beat this team, 63-3, okay, what does that mean? What does that do to you? But now Jim will play the mind game here. And, what do we get from this? Well, we got kicked in the face a little bit. It was 7-6 for a while there. So, what's the upside of that? And, Sharon Moore was the head coach there, and he got his opportunity. But, we turned the ball over. And then, when JJ was throwing them interceptions and he was struggling, what came to mind? Woody Hayes came to mind. And you're going to say, what the hell did Woody Hayes have to do with JJ throwing interceptions? Well, Coach Moeller played for Woody Hayes. And Coach Moeller always used to say, Woody used to tell his guys, when people start telling you how good you are, you punch them right in the face. And Coach Moeller used to tell us the same thing. When people start telling you how great you are, because all that's doing is making you believe it. It makes you soft. You forget about, but he recovered and he finished up pretty good. But anyway, that's where we are. We're 3-0, and the challenges, the lamb chops are over, and we got a serious challenge coming in Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know if Michigan took BG lightly. They took their first drive and went, right down the field, 4 plays and 77 yards. Corum had the fabulous run. Edwards had one. JJ ran it a little bit. Then they went right into the end zone. But then the turnovers happened. In almost any season, even in championship seasons, you don't play at a peak level in all 11, 12 games, 13 games during the course of the season. So you're going to have a game where you're just not at peak performance. If you want to look at the bright side, you say, hey, hopefully this is the one that they get out of the way that way. And it's a reminder that, hey, you can't just go out there. You have to take every series and every play. And I know they know that, but, this will be again, looking at it from the bright side. If you want to take the other side, you say, hey, man, turning the ball over like McCarthy, not being able to spot his receivers. I mean, this wasn't the JJ you saw from the first 2 games. And then there were some other things that you would say, like, I don't know, Donovan Edwards not being able to, look like the Donovan Edwards from last year. What's going on there? And, Bowling Green. I mean, Bowling Green had some opportunities in that first half. They dropped a touchdown. I mean, they made some interesting, acrobatic catches for some big gainers, but then they dropped a touchdown. I mean, Michigan, I think Michigan was lucky they were playing Bowling Green tonight. Like, they went out there and played like this against a Big Ten team. We might be sitting around talking about a clunker and a big fat L, but, they survive it. So now I think that, you do look at the bright side. I think you probably should look at the bright side if you're a Michigan fan, that that it happened tonight and it didn't happen some other time, and you still have all your goals in front of you.
Yeah, I said my goals that I've said looking in at really the last 3 games were always the same thing. It's like win the game, come out healthy, and play 100 guys. We might have played up to 80 guys tonight, but the big thing I wanted to accomplish, my 4th goal, was to solidify who the heck the second string quarterback. Get them reps, get them confidence, because we don't. Maybe the coaches do, and they have a lot of confidence. Whoever they think it is it Davis Warren? Is it, Donegal got in there, and we, Tuttle played 1 play. So I don't know. That's the only concern because I think we have a ton of depth at a lot of different positions. Every position we've got good depth. And Denny, I'm going to get into the offense right away because I'm going to talk about depth and something that's going on there. I don't know if you saw it, but we've started with Hinton, Zinter, the center,
Nugent,
Keegan, and then the right tackle it's been the same guy. What's the other guy? What's the left tackle?
And Barnhart.
Okay, so that's been our starters. Okay, well, guess what? About midway through the third quarter, they put Henderson in there. They took Hinton out, so they put Henderson in at left tackle. Okay, and I think we have competition. I think we have 3 tackles now. I think Barnhart is solidified. He has a position. He is our top tackle. But I think there's competition now with Hinton and Henderson. And Henderson, I can see why they like him. I can see why they played him. I see the strengths and weaknesses now of both those tackles of Hinton and Henderson's got good feet. I think he's going to pass protect good. He's going to get the linebackers probably better than Hinton will. Hinton is a big, thick kid. He's going to move people. He's a little stouter. He's a little heavier. They both have strengths, but I think we're going to see competition at the offensive line position. But Danny, we started out real good running our power play. Our power play we ran it as good as we've ran it all year, and they were even loading the box up, and we still ran it. We'll look at some film on Monday, but we did some really good things blocking and executing offensively with our line blocking. We took that first drive, four plays. We took it right down and scored, man. Just running the football. Those are 4 straight run plays. I'd like seeing the Wildcat. That is a great deal there. When you have Donovan Edwards as your quarterback Wildcat guy, okay, and you split JJ out. Everybody in the Big Ten knows that Donovan Edwards threw a touchdown pass against Iowa in the championship game. So they have to honor his ability to throw the football. Denny, it's not like you're putting a kid back there they haven't seen throw. So listen, he's not like JJ. He's not a backup quarterback, but they will have to honor it to some extent. So I really liked seeing that formation because that's creative, and it would give me problems as a defensive coach, because I'd have to still honor, throwing the football. Any thoughts on anything I covered so far?
Yeah, I think that's the part when you have the Wildcat, you have to have the threat of the back to be able to throw the ball. So putting that wrinkle in, they had an end around. That's now 2 games that we've seen that. So you have to honor that. So teams will look at that. Yeah, I think that if somebody says, hey, you're going to be a little bit worried about J.J. McCarthy now, well, I say that I can understand how you'd be worried until he goes out there and puts a half or, an entire game where he's protecting the football and not throwing it to the other team. So that's at least something where you can say, hey, I'm a little bit worried about that if you're a Michigan fan. I think also if Michigan fans say, look, I'm a little bit worried about Donovan Edwards, whether, he didn't practice in fall camp and he's ramping back up. He had the hand, he had a procedure with his knee. Is he 100%? He doesn't look like the Donovan Edwards from last year. You could say that's a little bit of a concern. I would say, how could I say it's not? I was expecting, Donovan Edwards to look like Donovan Edwards. So with all of those other things, I mean, they have, Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson and Colston Loveland. Those are 3 pass catchers, with McCarthy being able to throw the ball. And, I think this could be a dangerous offense. I do think that this part, and it's from John, who says if they play anywhere near this terrible against Rutgers, they're going to run them off the field. Rutgers is better than people thought they were before the season. Sloppy, which is all true. But I'll take you back to 2 years ago when Rutgers came into the Big House and Michigan had 20 points at the half. They were winning that game 20-3. They came out for the first drive, took it into Rutgers territory, had a 3rd and 13 and ran the ball. And I don't know if they were booing at the stadium or not, but I was like, why would you run the ball on a 3rd and 13? 3 and out. They had 3 more 3 and outs, 4 3 and outs in the second half against Rutgers 2 years ago. And the defense held on and bailed them out in the second half. And they won that game where they didn't score any points in the second half. They played on offense, I would say, a clunker against the Scarlet Knights 2 years ago. And, oh, yeah, they made the college football playoff. So I get your point that if they play like that against Rutgers, they could lose the game. They play like that against any other team. like they did tonight, they could end up losing the game. So being a little bit concerned about that. But, you could also, this isn't like, it was a poor game overall. I mean, it was, I don't know about shocking, but it was overall, you've seen this. But you've also seen it as recently as the last time that they played Rutgers at home. So this is not like something like, oh, my God, for sure. But I get the point there.
Listen, it was a poor game at the quarterback position from a turnover standpoint.
Well, it was a poor game also on the kick return where it got contagious, where you had two guys putting it on the ground. And, I know one was a defensive end, but, Bredesen's a tight end. He's got to be able to handle that, coughing it up. That's not good.
No, I get it.
Not good.
Listen,
you say it all the time. Number one thing, protect the football.
I get it, Danny. I get it.
A big hot potato tonight.
And, you covered a lot there, and I'm going to go over a couple things then. It's this game, you always look for it as a coach. There'll be and I don't think Jim really needs it, but there will be a heightened sense of urgency. We're 3-0. We can't just show up and beat people. JJ will tighten things up. Rutgers is legit. They're 3-0. They beat Virginia Tech. They beat Northwestern. Okay, so, but guess what? We got the secret weapon back. And you know who that is? Number 4, Denny. Number 4. The original number 4. Jim Harbaugh. He'll be on the sideline. So we're going to have our leader back. And that's that. But let me quickly talk about running back. Listen, Donovan is used in a lot of ways. He's a threat in a lot of ways. You talked about jet sweep. We put him in there. We ran him on the jet. We had him in there at the, in the Wildcat, and I see Donovan Edwards as a better player than he was last year. I see a more physical kid. There hasn't been. He needs a clear blocking. He needs to play blocked a little better, I think, than Corum. Corum will get you something when it's not there, and Corum is better this week than he was last. Like I said, he's going to get better every week. He's almost to that form. But I am not worried about Donovan Edwards. They're using him all over the place. They know his strengths. He gives the defenses problems. Corum will get hit in the backfield, and he'll find a way to get you a fall forward and get a yard. Today, he did it. He got hit short of the first down, fell forward, get you the first down. He's about 95% of his form. And I think Donovan is a better player than he was last year, but you got to really look at the little things. Listen, those big runs he had in some of those games last year, they just weren't gap sound at Ohio State, Denny. You got to look at it from a lot of different perspective. So I'm good with where we're getting from Donovan. If you want to finish up with running backs.
Yeah, I just want to say overall, I think this is a product of what you saw tonight of a crap non-conference slate. Now, look, they survived it last year. They went to the college football playoff. But look at you. It doesn't matter who you are. Like the fans are all, these are a bunch of cupcakes. You call them lamb chops. And Michigan knows it. And Harbaugh treated them last year like, they were exhibition games, the way that he played, McNamara in one, and then JJ were spilling it into the season. And then this year he's like, yeah, we're running the Michigan method again. We're just shuttling guys in and out. It's going to be a competition. The offensive line never got going, and they couldn't go to the Michigan method because they didn't have it going. And that caught up to him a little bit, in my opinion, of what you see here. You can tell those players all day long, but those guys know you're sitting like 10 guys out because it's like the preseason. And you know why those guys are sitting out? Will Johnson, if this was a game, if they were playing Texas this year, or if they were playing a legitimate Power 5 team, they would have had probably 5-6 players that sat out. And so these guys know it's like, they're a 40-point favorite. You could tell guys all day long that you got to get out there and you can't take anything for granted. And, this is a championship season and everything else. But what I saw tonight was the product of 2 years of Michigan having the easy breezy September. They've got 4 different head coaches during the non-conference. And I think all that caught up to them a little bit. They didn't just roll their helmets out there, but it's hard. Even like, for Michigan, as much as those coaches will tell them and much as the players might be saying one thing, it's still hard to go out there when you have a team that you think that's, that you should win. And look, what did they play? A D game? The defense early on, had some issues. In the second half, they were really good, but, they were going against a backup quarterback. I never got the story. They had their starting quarterback. And, as much as I like Jake Butt and everything else, and whoever the play-by-play guy was, they didn't have any answers at all. Like, I didn't know what was going on. They played 100 commercials. They have the running clock, and yet they seem like they've been able to, go to like 100 more commercials. It doesn't have any flow. I don't know if that affects the players or not. It affects me when I'm watching it. Like, so I know I'm all over the place there, Scar, but you're talking.
Well, I just look at it. I look at it from if I'm looking at my defense here, they bled us a little bit. Okay, they did drive it a little bit, but 2 field goals with 4 turnovers defensively. Even though they had, that's a MAC team, but not the. I'm not. My defense was pretty darn solid tonight. I played a ton of guys. If I'm coaching that team and that's my defense, I'm pretty damn good with that. If I look at my offense, if I look at my offensive line, they did a lot of damn good things. They did a lot of good things. My tight ends were pretty good, other than Bredesen dropping that. But other than the turnovers, Denny, and this is why that's why old Scar always starts with that being number one.
You do.
So that's, so how did our running backs play? I thought they played pretty darn good. Corum is getting to that form. Line was good. Receivers did some good things. Kojo caught a great ball. But again, that's why we put so much. The quarterback gets so much credit when we win. But anyway, the turnover thing was the problem. And hopefully we get that straightened up. But let me quick transition to tight end. I want to see more and more 18. They're using him on the power play. Hibner got in there. So he's playing more. When we want to go with 3 tight ends, he's in the game. So that was encouraging. Loveland had a great catch in there. But Hibner is a guy that's getting some clock, and that was good to see. So we talked already about the offensive line that I wouldn't doubt if Henderson starts next week. Wouldn't doubt it if he starts at left tackle and Barnhart's at right tackle. But bottom line is, again, as a coach, it's a good problem. I got 3 good ones. You know what I mean? Hinton, Barnhart, and Henderson. So, I guess Denny, I'm not beating it up. Let's secure the damn football. That's why we always start with that. And real quick, the special teams. I'll give old Leffler credit. When you play games like this and coach and guys do things to you that you haven't seen or maybe you didn't prepare enough for, like the pooch kick. Well, guess what? I mean, old Jake made a good point. You got old Braden. I know Braden McGregor. I think he was a tight end in high school. Okay, so I'm sure our coaches thought about that. But you got these big old mitts on. He don't have the same gloves that tight ends have. You know what I mean? And if you're going to have him catching balls, you better make sure he's doing it in practice. So those are things that I'm glad Bowling Green did that to us, because other people will see that and they're like, I'm going to find 17 and pooch it up to him. And Bredesen, that kid gets work securing the darn football every day in practice. There was no excuse for him. You know what I mean? So there was no excuse for that. He gets work on it every single day in practice.
Yeah, Leffler with the old Pepsi kicks is that, back when he was coaching at Michigan, the former Wolverine, going with that. This is, I know you get a lot more, Scar. We always invite people to get in. I've been putting some of their messages up on the board, their feedback. I want to ask you, this has nothing to do with what was going on the field, but it was the first night game, 14th night game officially overall at Michigan Stadium, but the first one with the new gigantic scoreboard. And they went to they did this after scores, and they might have done it at different times, a strobe light effect. For me watching it on TV, Trepp is asking, if you like the light show, if it fires the crowd up and the players like it, I'm going to say I'm all for it. Watching it on TV, I don't like it. I mean, do I like somebody just sitting there turning on and off the lights? If I'm saying, no, I don't like that. But again, I would have to be at the stadium to, and if it was,
I want that experience. You know what I'm looking for? I'm thinking about those recruits. when a kid comes on campus, I didn't go to the game obviously, but when a kid comes to our game, we want that kid to be just overwhelmed with the fans, the electricity, the whole deal, man. So we're closing deals, game time. Finishing up with the offense, though, we ran the zone play pretty darn good. We'll have some film on that Monday. I was glad to see that. And there was movement. There was movement better than we probably had all year. Again, we'll show the film. We moved their front. That first drive was unbelievable. We don't screw around with these turnovers. Denny, we hang 50 on this team. Really. I mean, it's that simple. Let's just, but it didn't happen. We could have had a fourth pick with the touchdown. The corner could have made a play on that one, but we moved this front. Our offensive line, I thought, did a good job. I'm going to close it on that. There's a lot of people that did some damn good things on offense, except for the quarterback. We did see Orgy. They ran him twice, quarterback power. Denningle got reps. So where the heck we stand with our backup quarterback, who knows?
Yeah, that's right. If I had to guess, I would say that it would be Davis Warren. I'll make one last point on the offense. J.J. McCarthy, they had some designed runs for him last week, and one of them, he went up the middle when he could have slid down after he got a first down, but he put his shoulder and he took an unnecessary hit on his hip, and Sharon Moore kind of laughed it off like, oh, yeah, he's a hockey player. They shouldn't be running J.J. McCarthy in a game like this. I don't know why you put him in a position. And at one point, he was over there limping. Now he stayed in and he looked fine. Who knows how those things go? But, that's unnecessary. If Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, Kirk, we praise these guys when they're over there. Oh, these guys dialing up these different plays. That's a bad move. That's bad coaching. That's a bad idea. You don't have to get him hit. He's going to get hit sometimes when the protection breaks down. Pass protection wasn't great, or if he's moving around. But design runs with him are unnecessary in a game like this. What are they doing? So that's my point on that.
I see, Denny. I see it too. I gave him my thoughts on that. I know. I would be really reluctant to run him in these first 3 football games. I said it from the jump. You know what else was discouraging about the offense? The second team kids get in there and we can't move the damn ball at all. I was discouraged with that, man. All those kids are guys we're counting on, and we couldn't move the ball. We 3-and-outed against that group. Let me finish. Let me get into some special teams before I go to the defense. Our kickoff team is solid. We put them in we're touchbacks, kicking them deep. Kick return. It looks like number 20 is the guy. He got a lot of reps in there. Again, the pooch kick, we talked about it, and it's good that happened, man. We'll clean it up. Punt return. Fall looks like a solid kid. He looks real confident. I bet the coaches see that kid in practice, Denny, never drop punts. That's why he's in there. He's proven it in practice, and now he's proven it in games. And there's something to be said about a guy that can catch punts. I don't care if he doesn't. He might not score touchdowns all the time and have that kind of, the speed, but he's going to catch the darn punt. So it looks like we got.
It appears, Scar, that they put Thaw out there if the punt looks like it's going to be inside the 30 or certainly inside the 20 because of what you're talking about. Like he has the best hands. If there's another opportunity maybe to get a return, you saw what Morris was able to do, and we saw some different guys. So, clearly, somebody like Tyler Morris. We saw Carmelo English almost busted one. I mean, those guys are more dynamic athletes, but are they catching the punt, which is job one?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's the key decision that you have to decide. And you're gonna make your decision based on what you're seeing in practice and then what you're seeing in the game. But yeah, I thought they just rotated them. You take the first one, you take the next one, but both of them were good, which is great. The field goal, we made a field goal. So that was one of the goals I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to identify the kicker and have the kid confident. So when we start Big Ten play, we got a kicker. I think we do. And we had a hell of a punt. We only punted, I only think of one time. And Dolan had a hell of a punt and great coverage. Denny, defensively, anything on that? Because I'm going to get into our defense because there was a lot of good stuff on defense.
Yeah, it was, you also saw Turner was able to, kick one, so that's good. There's a lot of people that are saying, like you compare this year to last year's non-conference, and Michigan went through, they blasted Colorado State 51-7, it was 56-10, and then they beat UConn 59-0. So, that was as easy as you could possibly have it, So yeah, you were feeling pretty confident, I'm sure. And then things were going pretty well until tonight. So yeah, this one's going to stick with you a little bit, and it's going to stick with them as well. And you got to take that, like Scar said earlier, he's not harping on it, but they're going to hear all that. Nobody's going to be out there. The coaches will go out there and talk about Monday and Tuesday that, hey, we're on to Rutgers, and these are learning experiences, and maybe it'll be good for them. But and in the back of everyone's minds, they look at this game and saying, "Hey, I mean, we got you're going to have people that are going overboard." I would put this in the category of going overboard, saying the offense is horrendous, and that that Michigan's like in the bottom half, or the last three offenses in the Big Ten. Like, okay, I mean, that's going to be a little bit of an overreaction, but fans are going to overreact. But there is a point to even the overreaction. I mean, this wasn't great. Again, I don't know why. I'm not emphasizing it, but people keep bringing it up. Go over to your, what else? You're going on the defensive side.
Yeah, let me go, because there's some things on defense. This game was good for us in a couple ways. I've watched now Nebraska. They run a ton of tight end wing stuff, a lot similar formations as us. And Ohio State's running a lot more tight end wing. So this game was good formation wise, because we're seeing things that we're going to see in the Big Ten from some teams. So I like that. You always like to see, Denny, in some of your lamb chop games against the people that you're going to see in, the big tough games you're going to see. So I think people against Michigan are doing a lot of quick passing. So I'm seeing that. Minter, what do I got on Minter? He come out swing. One thing about Minter, he doesn't wait to get his team into a flow. I used to kind of wait as a defensive coordinator, so to let my team get a feel for the game, get the cadence, figure out get your bearings before I start blitzing guys. But he comes out first play, and it's Minter. It's what he does. I respect the hell out of him, and it's just something that he does as a coach. There were more exotic stunts today again. And we did a real good job executing, better than last week, executing some of our different stunts. And again, we'll look at some film and show that. But Denny, again, and this is one of the foundations of what we have to be good, zero movement. Our front, when people, the plays you want to look at are the zone and the power. When people are running zone and power against Michigan these last three games, there's been zero movement. They're not moving 55. They're not moving 94. And that's where our defense starts. Okay, so that is where I always look at first. So there's zero movement there. And Denny, I know it sucks that we turn the ball over. Okay, and coaches are always preparing your defense for what we call sudden change. You're always getting your defense ready for that. They just drove the ball for 15 plays. You're sucking air. And you got off the field, you got them stopped or whatever it is. The offense goes on the field, and 2 plays later, they throw an interception. Okay, now you're back on the field. So we had to do that several times today. And it's good. It's good in a way that you have to do it. You have to go through it and experience it. So I just wanted to throw that at you, and then I'll get into some more position groups. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought the play of the game, Michigan comes out, you're like, all right, they got their wake-up call, they go into halftime, but they come out and they have a 3-and-out. They get the ball to start the second half out. You think Michigan's going to take the offense. They're just going to jam it right down the Falcons' throat. They're just going to move it right down the field, and they're going to score a touchdown, and this game's going to be over. But they go 3-and-out. You're like, wait a second, what is going on here? But then the play of the game was Jalen Harrell comes up, hits the quarterback's arm, and then, or actually just puts the pressure on him. And Chris Jenkins comes up with that interception and almost is able to walk it in for a touchdown. Corum on the first play takes it in from 2 yards. I mean, that was the sequence of the game after Michigan coming out with the 3-and-out. It felt like it, even with the way things were going, that was going to be over. But, that key play, that was the one. Yeah. Jenkins and Harrell teaming up there for the near pick six. It's certainly
Yeah, you know, Denny, and that's from repetition. That's a smart football player. You know, he smelled it. He smelled screen. He sniffed it out. He's like, wait a minute, something ain't right. And he started just that little bit of backpedal, you know, that he took, and it was he put himself in position to make the play. That's a smart player. And only way you make that play is through hundreds of repetitions of having played screen. He sniffed it out. He made the play. But okay, let me get into the D line. This is the first game we ran a 3-4 package where we have 3 interior defensive linemen in the game. You got it, Denny? All so far, all we've run is 2 inside guys. So there were multiple repetitions where we had Graham and Jenkins, and then Grant were all 3 in the game with 2 edge players. So that was something we worked on, and I think it was because of formation. So that was in the game. We worked on it, and they had zero luck rushing the ball against that front. So we did it many times, and it's something you're going to need as you go through the season. 99, good. Did some things in there. He brought some pressure. He's a solid backup, and so is Benny, solid backup. I thought Kenneth Grant had an average game. He's got to play run better. He's a good pass rusher. He's got to play the run better. Grant has to get better playing the run. But that's it with the interior kids. Solid performance, though, as a whole. No movement. Always start with that. The edge. Let me talk about my opinion of where we stand at the edge after 3 games.
All right.
We got 2 guys that play the field, the strong side guys. That's Brett McGregor and Moore. Okay. Braden McGregor he's a better, smarter player he should be. This is his 4th year. He plays the run better than Moore. Okay. He's a big, tough, physical kid. He plays the run much better, and he's gotten better every year, and he's rushing the quarterback well. I think he's a better player than Moore. Moore has to play the run better. He rushes the quarterback well, but he's got to learn to play the run better. That'll come. That'll come with time. He's relying on his speed, to rush the quarterback, which is fine. But he'll get better against the run. He has to get better. But that's why, in my opinion, McGregor should be starting. That's why he does start. On the other side, you got Harrell and you got Stewart. Both good football players. I think Harrell's a little bit better versus the run, playing tight ends, taking on guards, tackles, and that thing. But there's not a big gap in there. Stewart is a hell of a pass rusher. He'll give you pass rush. They're both really, really solid players. There's not really much of a gap between those two. And there's not a huge gap between McGregor and Moore, but I think McGregor's slightly better. But all 4 of those guys are damn good football players we can win a Big Ten championship with. And I'm going to say this, too. This is the only other guy I have on my notes, because I'm going to really – those at the end of the game, Denny, that's where coaches – I guarantee you those coaches, they're going to evaluate the heck out of that last 8 minutes where those second-string, third-string kids were in there. 96. Etta, the big kid, that highly recruited kid, Etta.
I know Etta, yeah.
That kid's going to be a player. Okay, I saw 2 plays from that kid. Okay, when you coach as long as I have, I don't need 20 plays to find out. I could tell right away that kid's going to be a football player. Okay, I could see exactly why he was hired. He's a big, strong kid, and he's got feet. I only saw 2 plays, but you watch. Scar will be right on that kid. And I really like our linebacker rotation. Like I said it, with Hausman in there. I'm drawing blanks on some of my linebackers, but Barrett gets out of the game, and then Junior gets out. Junior's playing well. He tackled well tonight in space. But again, I think all those guys are better players because they're getting out of the game. We have a solid 3-man rotation. And, the secondary, like you said, Wallace got beat on that. That should have been a touchdown. He got beat on that. He bit up. I really like Sanistril coming up run support. I think our coaches do a great job. Danny, when you play in the secondary, in general, you're playing run, react to pass. But when you clear that it's not pass, then you got to react and come up and run support. You got to make that transition real quick. Is it pass? Is it run? And I think our coaches do a great job with our secondary recognizing, okay, it's not pass, run support. And I think we do a real good job with that in general. I think our coaches do a good job with that.
Yeah, Sainris still is just a playmaker. He's all over the place. You need a pick, you need a sack, you need him putting his helmet on the ball, knocking it out. You need to get his hand in there against the tight end, right? Johnny on the spot. He's been able to do it. So, he's fabulous. I think the defense, this sounds pretty obvious. You get Will Johnson and Rod Moore back. Like, those are two all conference type players, two guys that are going to be in the pros. That's going to make a huge difference to the secondary if you got Will Johnson out there and if you're bringing Rod Moore back. I mean, these guys, one of them led Michigan in interceptions, another one, could be a first round pick, and even though he has to stay another year. So that's going to be a little bit different for this team, defensively overall.
Yeah. So anyway, if again, I look at this performance and like, man, I'm not going to beat up the defense. Shit, they did some damn good things, and my foot, he understands how damn important that is. The ball is the issue, man. The ball, everything rides on that, and we'll tighten it up. And we got number 4 coming back. He'll be on the sideline next week, and a little bit of adversity, a little bit of a sense of urgency is good. Got kicked in the face a little bit. Hey, man, quit listening to everybody tell you how good you are, JJ, and let's go. Let's get back down to earth. He'll get straightened out, and our mindset will be good. We will have a good mindset as we prepare. Jim will be have them ready, and I'm just feeling good about it. I ain't sweating. The only thing is the damn quarterback. Who's the backup quarterback? That's the only question I have about this whole football team.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't give the backups really any chance. They just ran them tonight, so I'm not really sure what they achieved by that. Let me give you my final thoughts, and you can come back with any last points that you want to make. I do think perspective on this, like tonight was not a good game for Michigan, but you're not going to have – you're going to find one of these, and they might have been lucky, that they had this type of game tonight. If you look at the other teams, Georgia, Florida State, other teams in the top 25, other teams that are in the top 5, those teams struggled today and had issues like Michigan. If you're watching them, you could say, oh, man, they don't look like, they're going to win the national championship. So that kind of stuff happens. And if you look at some of the halftime scores, it was the same thing almost across the board. So it does happen. Yes, you would like to come out and just sledgehammer everyone, feel great about where you're at. But not only 2 years ago against Rutgers, where Michigan didn't score any points, and they had 4 3-and-outs in the second half against the Scarlet Knights, and they were still able to win the game. I will take you back to last year's first game in the Big Ten. It was against Maryland at home, and that was a rough game. That was a tight one at the half. It was a one-score game. Michigan was putting the ball, McCarthy had the ball squirming all over on the ground. I mean, these kind of things, you are going to have games that, you're not blowing everybody out, and you have to make plays, and they're going to be one-possession games in the fourth quarter. You don't like that, but look back to last year against Maryland. That's what happened. Like you forget, last year was a fabulous year. They were down on the road to Rutgers. These kind of things, you're going to have to go through this. Now, it wasn't good. And now that it's happened, I don't know, being a wake-up call or anything else, but you freak out a little bit, but don't freak out too much, I would say. I still think, this team has a lot of talent. I also look to just these last 2 years of just how easy these games are, and these players are looking at that. I was looking at it like, they'll win by 50. If it'd be 60-0, that wouldn't be a huge surprise. Half of the players are out, they're just sitting there. They treated these games, Harbaugh treated them like exhibition. They don't have a head coach. They had 4 different ones. I think all of those things factored in. I still think the goals are there. I still think that this team can win the Big Ten. Actually, I think they can win the national championship. So there's nothing. I mean, you could freak out and say, they're going to lose for sure. Now, I don't believe that. I believe that, tonight was not good for them, and it wasn't a good showing, but they still are able to hang in there, and they're able to get the W. I mean, how many championship teams are you talking about? The NCAA tournament, it's survive and advance. And college football, it's a lot of the same thing. You survive and you advance, and you might not feel good, but hey, you go out and beat Rutgers by a couple scores, and you're going to be right back up in the big seat. feeling good about everything. Scar, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right, Danny. I'm gonna quote the great Al Davis: "Just win, baby." Listen, we're 3-0. We got a lot of questions answered. And Danny, you talk about, listen, I played in a high school state championship undefeated 12-0 football team. We had a couple games, 7-3, 3-0 games. Okay. I played on a Big Ten championship team. We had a couple games. Okay. You don't blow everybody out. Okay. I coached a long time, had undefeated teams that I coached, man. And you know what? There's a couple games in there where everything don't go your way. The official drops the flag. You turn the ball over. It happens. But we found a way to win all those freaking games. And you know what? This stuff it's all going to make you mentally tough. There's a part of this game that the right leadership, with Jim Harbaugh, he'll spin it positively to build on that mental toughness that you need to have that great season. So that's it. Scar's out. Be looking to hear Monday. We'll have film and we'll break it down and see where we stand and have some thoughts on Rutgers.
Awesome. Scar, great job. Look forward to talking with you on Monday. Michigan wins this one 31-6. They're 3-0. They got Rutgers on the Big Ten play.
Go Blue.
There you go.